Good morning today. Here comes the neighbor. Do some tree trimming. We try to trim up some of these trees over here so that if I get a well, the mast of the well can not conflict with the trees. And I need to take this tree down over here too. So check those out. These are ready to get ripping. Sweet. Good start of the morning. This morning we started to go to work, and then these guys came up asking for some help. They actually drove like 11 hours to go to a race nearby, and there happened to be an accident on the highway, so they thought they would go off on some of these county roads and try to get to the track quicker. Well, that water is shallow, but it's really soft and it'll swallow you up, and that's exactly what happened. These dudes were really cool though. They weren't too late to the race. It was just, they were just like 3 miles away, and they, still maintained some communication with us, sent pictures of their bikes and the fun they had that day at the races. And we always like to help somebody out of the creek, and I don't know how many times we pulled people out of there, but they were pretty thankful. It's hard to tell, but this tree right here needs to be thinned out. This is my first time running a telehandler. Aaron let me take the controls. We didn't have any voice. He has a headset on, but I didn't have one, and so it made communication a little bit difficult. That machine's really loud, and a lot of times I couldn't see his hand signals, so I was just kind of winging it, and I wouldn't make a move until I was certain that I saw his hand. So as we get a little lower under the tree line, I couldn't see anything, so I had to really depend on just his hollering at me. We did have a heck of a lot of fun doing all this today, and I was pretty slow at handling this thing, but I wanted to be safe, and I didn't want him to fall off or bounce around. It's 42-foot boom, so he's up there. Any slight movement will jar you pretty good when you're that high up in the air. Here's an aerial of the place. This is the two areas mainly where we were cutting. You can see the creek off to the right, upper right. We're trying to clear out the pathway that we use on our side-by-sides around where all the debris, that circle right there. That's where Aaron's going to be doing a lot of the work on the creek. You don't like that thing, do you? You don't like it. Here he's just smoothing out kind of where we sit. To the left there's our swimming, bathing hole, waiting area. And that way we can bring the side-by-sides in here and barbecue and whatnot, sit around. That gravel bed is built up tremendously from the flooding that goes on down there. So he's just trying to get back through where it's all clogged up with those trees he pushed out of the way there. Aaron and I both have a vendetta against that little stump he's pushing out right now. We were out one night, and I got my side-by-side hung up on that stump, and we hooked a winch up to it. And anyway, I ended up snapping an axle. We were stranded out there for a bit. So he's like, I'm getting that stump.
That's the stump I got high centered on and blew out my front axle.
This here is just the other side where he's smoothing out the gravel near the swimming hole. And we used to be able to drive through there until, like I say, the floods carried all that debris through there. And I asked him to, hey man, can you smooth this out, make it a little more navigable in the side-by-sides where they can get hung up on everything. So here he is going to town.
I'm liking it.
Here's a few more chunks of wood I've got to clean up here, no big deal. But some of this, when he was cutting these trees down, came down and landed on my wood pile, knocked it over again, knocked some of these things out of the way. So I need to relocate this wood pile anyways. I think in the future, I was thinking this would be a good spot for the well. I'm not sure. I'll talk to them about it, make sure that's a good choice or not. But yeah, I've got to buck up some of this stuff here and get it cut up into firewood as well. Here's the aftermath of this side of the house where Aaron and I cut all these trees. So I've got to weld some brackets on my bucket of the tractor so I can get a chain wrapped around some of these. Well, I'll just cut like this stuff up. But these big logs here, I'm gonna save. And then I still got this one standing here that I'll cut down and just kind of buck up all this brush and everything. And that's my septic over there where the bucket is. But so I've still got to clean up some of this stuff. But I'm really glad he came over and thinned this stuff down for me, because I bet he saved me probably a good $2,500 or more if I had to hire that out. So I owe Aaron some big favors for doing that. Thanks so much, Aaron. Well, let's see. S10, turns out his front hubs weren't kicking in. Now, I've had a S10 and a buddy who had one back in the day, and there's a vacuum line that actuates the front end hubs, and the way it's routed, got some big old holes through here now, somehow touches the exhaust and burns a hole through the vacuum line, so it won't actuate the front end. So I told him to check that out. So he's going to go home and look into it. And I said, don't try to go through that last hole that I just drove through. You're going to get stuck with two-wheel drive, but it's really soft. The rest, you're good. So I followed him through.